Yesterday, Sayadaw explained that tender stage of Udiyataya Jnana, tender stage of insight into arising and passing away, it does not have the jhana factors of Vitakka and Vichara, but it has the three jhana factors, Piti, Sukha and Ekaggata, joy, happiness, and one-pointedness of mind. So it is the beginning of Dutiya jhana, beginning of second jhana. And Sayadaw also explained on Vipassanupa Kilesa 10 kinds of imperfections of insight, such as illumination, joy, tranquility, and so on. So when the yogi understands that thinking about these, such as illumination, it is not the right path. So when yogi understands that it is not right path to be thinking about the illumination, but to note continuously on the object, it is right path. So by this way, yogi comes to understand what is not right path and what is right path. In this way, there will be purification by knowledge and vision of path and not path. So it is called Magga Magga Jnana Dassana Visuddhi. And then yogi will be free from piti, joy, and there will only be two jhana factors, sukha, happiness in a calm way, and ekaggata, concentration or one-pointedness of mind. So having these two jhana factors, it will be Tatiya jhana, third jhana. So Sayadaw will only explain briefly. If Sayadaw explain in length, then some yogis may imitate to the description of these jhanas. So some of the yogis imitate and copy what is explained in their own report. That's why Sayadaw will not explain in detail. So when the yogi continues to practice, yogi will get to the stage of mature phase of Udiyataya Jnana, mature phase of knowledge into arising and passing away. So at this mature stage of Udiyataya Jnana, the noting will be better. Yogi will come to see ever arising and passing away of the object, the old object giving rise to new. So in every noting, yogi comes to understand very clearly and distinctly the fast arising and passing away. So it is the matured phase of Udiyataya Jnana. So from the matured phase of Udiyataya Jnana, matured phase of insight, knowledge into arising and passing away, till a new Loma Jnana, knowledge of conformity, it will be purification by knowledge and vision of the way. In Pali it is called Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi. So when the yogi continues to practice, the practice gains momentum. So whatever object that the yogi is noting, she comes to see the dissolution of both the object and the noting mind. So it is said that the jnata, the object that is to be known, and the jnana, the noting mind, both of these jnata and jnana, the yogi comes to see the dissolution of both the jnata and jnana in pairs. So at this stage, yogi sees dissolution of both the object and the noting mind coming to dissolution in pairs. So in Pali it is called Bhanga Jnana, knowledge of dissolution. So at this stage, yogi sees dissolution of the object as well as the noting mind. And his or her knowledge becomes very sharp and very clear. And at this stage, the objects, they arise. It seems as if the objects arise to be noted. And at this stage of the practice, it seems that the objects are arising and saying that, please note me, so in that manner. So in this way, it seems that the objects are arising to be noted as if saying, note me, and so on. So at this stage of Bhanga Jnana, at this stage of knowledge into fearfulness, the beginning of the object is not obvious anymore. The arising and the presence of the object is not obvious at this stage of practice. Only the dissolution is obvious to the yogi at the stage of Bhanga Jnana. And Pavada, the arising of the phenomena, like a stream of current, is not obvious anymore. And he, she does not see form or shape of either hand or feet or head. So body parts are not obvious anymore. So what the yogi's noting mind fall onto is kaya. Kaya means dissolving, vaya coming to an end, and bhanga, dissolution. So at this stage, the noting mind only falls into the end, coming to the end, and dissolution of the object. So yogi sees first dissolution of the object, and his or her knowledge will be on the dissolution of the object. So at the beginning when the yogi starts to attain this stage of Bhanga Jnana, because sukha, happiness, is not prominent anymore, but in place of sukha, there will be upekkha, equanimity, and he, she will be in a state of balance. So at the beginning, when the yogi starts to attain this Bhanga Jnana, he, she may feel a little discomfort at the beginning, but later on, he, she feels comfortable again. And the person will be seeing dissolution of the object. Whatever object the yogi knows, yogi will only be seeing dissolution of these objects. So yogi will come to see them as frightening. So the knowledge of fearfulness also develops. So whenever or whatever yogi knows, yogi will only see dissolution of the objects, so yogi will see them as frightening, and there will be disenchantment. So yogi will come to see things as disgusting and disenchanting. So in this way, Adinava Jnana, knowledge of disenchantment, also develops. So just now, Adinava Jnana, I translated as knowledge of disenchantment, but actually Adinava Jnana is called knowledge of danger. So as the yogi continues to practice, seeing dissolution of the object, whatever object is noted, so yogi does not see them as good anymore. Usually, people feel happy only when they see them as pleasurable. But now, at this stage of practice, yogi does not see anything pleasurable anymore, because the yogi sees the dissolution of both the noting mind and the object. So not seeing pleasurable in the object as well as the noting mind, yogi feels bored in the practice. So it seems very dry because yogi sees nothing pleasurable. So yogi feels bored. So it's a kind of the stage that yogi gets into. It is called Nibbida Jnana, knowledge of disenchantment. So whatever the yogi is noting, he sees them as bad. So at this stage, yogi's noting become automatic, and in order to be free from the suffering, yogi has to continue practice. It is called Patisankha Jnana. And yogi has to note these nama rupa so that the characteristic of impermanent suffering and non-self will be digested. So when the yogi becomes digested in the object, when the yogi becomes digested, then the noting becomes automatic without having to put too much effort. So at this stage, the object becomes very obvious automatically, and there will be equanimity. The mind will be balanced. The mind will be in the state of equilibrium. And there will be Sankharupeka Jnana, knowledge of equanimity toward formation. So starting from Bhanga Jnana, starting from knowledge of dissolution, till Sankharupeka Jnana, till knowledge of equanimity towards formation, yogi sees no pleasurable in the object, but the yogi is noting with comfort, with balanced mind. So at that stage, from the stage of Bhanga Jnana to Sankharupeka Jnana, there will be Catuta Jhana, the fourth jhana, which comprises of Upekkha and Ekaggata, equanimity and concentration. So when the yogi gains Sankharupeka Jnana, knowledge of equanimity towards formation, Catuta Jhana, fourth jhana, comes to a top level. So at the stage of Sankharupeka Jnana, whatever object arises at the sixth sense door will be noted automatically. And at this stage, yogi will not feel pleasure. Yogi does not feel pleasure, and the yogi does not feel discouraged or depressed. So there will not be likes and dislikes at this stage of practice, but the mind will be balanced and in the state of equilibrium. So at this stage of Sankharupekkha Jnana, even though the yogi is still a Puthojjana, even though the yogi has not eradicated the defilements, but at this stage of Sankharupekkha Jnana, the yogi's mind is compared to the mind of an Arahat, because at this stage of Sankharupekkha Jnana, yogi's mind is pure and clean. So there are 6 factors, 6 qualities of Sankharupekkha Jnana, 3 of the imperfection and 3 of the special quality, making 6 qualities of Sankharupekkha Jnana. So at the other stages of insight knowledge, these 6 qualities are not obvious, but at the stage of Sankharupekkha Jnana, these 6 qualities develop amazingly. So among the 6 qualities of Sankharupekkha Jnana, the first quality is that it is free from fear or desire at this stage of Sankharupekkha Jnana. So yogi can note whatever object that arises with balanced mind, and his or her mind will be free from fear or desire. Because there is sustained mindfulness and knowledge will continuously develop, at this stage, yogi's mind is balanced without having happiness, pleasure or displeasure. So the yogi's mind will not have pleasure or displeasure, but the mind will be balanced. So it is another quality. The third quality is that yogi noting become automatic. Yogi can note at ease without having to put effort. So, and also there are 3 special qualities. The first special quality is that the knowledge will be very firm and long-lasting. Noting will be continuous, one after another, without any gaps. So at this stage, yogi does not miss to note anything. And the knowledge and the concentration is very firm. So it is one of the special qualities. Because the notings are continuous and the notings are very firm and continuous, the knowledge is very firm. So as it gets longer, the notings become more and more subtle and delicate. So at times, yogi may think whether the consciousness, whether the knowledge is still there or not. And the third quality is that the mind does not get distracted to other things, but the noting mind will dwell on the object of meditation. It will not depart. The noting mind will not depart from the object of meditation. So the mind will flinch away from distraction. And if the yogi deliberately sends his or her mind to other things, it will go just once and always come back to the object right away. So it is compared to a boomerang. In Australia, they play boomerang. Once the player throws the boomerang, it will come back to the player. So in the same way, when the yogi sends his or her mind to other things, the mind will come back to the object immediately, just like a boomerang comes back. So when the noting is gaining momentum, the fast, active and special knowledge and noting, it is called Vutthanagamini Vipassana. It means the knowledge which is leading to the path knowledge. So this Vuttanagami Vipassana is the last Vipassana knowledge. Discerning mind and matter, the knowledge is called Vipassana Samadhi. So after the last consciousness, after the last Vipassana knowledge, the noting mind, both the noting mind and the object comes to a cessation. And this jnana is called Gruttabu. So it is the change of lineage jnana. It is called Gruttabu jnana, the knowledge of change of lineage. So the jnana taking object of the cessation of the conditioned phenomena is called Magga jnana and Phala jnana. It is path knowledge and fruition knowledge. Magga jnana is called Magga Samadhi and Phala jnana is called Phala Samadhi. And the reflecting what happened after the incident, it is called Paccavakkana Samadhi. And Sayadaw will not explain in detail. Sayadaw only explain briefly. So when the yogi gets to this stage, these things could be explained in detail, and the yogi will be explained what the yogi has eradicated and what defilements are left. So to get to these stages of insight, one needs to develop knowledge. So the knowledge such as Vipassana Kusala, wholesomeness, Vipassana wholesomeness, and also the wholesomeness of path and fruition are obtained by knowledge. So in order to gain knowledge, one needs to note whatever object that arises. So in practicing to accumulate wholesomeness, if the yogi is not practicing respectfully, meticulously, or thoroughly, if the yogi is stopping in between, then it is negligence, failure, heedlessness. It is called pamada. And the opposite is when the yogi notes respectfully, continuously, thoroughly, without stopping. So apart from the sleeping hours, when the yogi notes diligently, respectfully, without stopping, continuously, then there will be apamada. So wholesomeness in brief are supporting other people's belonging, other people with material things, dana, refraining from misconduct, morality, and also mental development practice to develop the mind and the knowledge, bhavana. So when performing these wholesomeness, if the person is not doing these wholesomeness respectfully, meticulously, thoroughly, without stopping, then the person is failing to gain high class wholesomeness, which is very precious. And the person will not be purified. He, she will be losing happiness, comfort. So in order not to happen like that, Buddha encouraged people to perform wholesomeness respectfully, meticulously. So practicing Satipatthana meditation is developing the Bodhipakkhiya Dhamma in order to realize the Four Noble Truths. So these Bodhipakkhiya Dhamma, the requisites of enlightenment, there are 37 of them. So these 37 of these requisites of enlightenment should be developed, such as Satipatthana, Samappadana, 4 foundations of mindfulness, 4 supreme efforts, and so on. So these 37 requisites of enlightenment are high-class wholesomeness concerning with bhavana, mental development practice. So yogis, the international yogis who come from all over to practice, so yogis who are here are practicing Bodhipakkhiya Dhamma. You are practicing the requisites of enlightenment. So noting, being mindful whenever one goes, stands, sit or lie, bend, stretch, move, rise, fall. So contemplation on these activities in all postures, it is called Kaya-nupassana, contemplation of the body. So being mindful of unpleasant sensations such as burning, heat, pain and ache, and also pleasant sensations such as comfort, is called Vedana-nupassana, contemplation on feeling or sensation. So thinking, imagining of good and bad. So being mindful of these good and bad thoughts and imaginations, one is said to be developing Citta-nupassana, contemplation of the mind. And being mindful of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and so on, it is called Dhamma-nupassana. So by noting, by being mindful of whatever object that arises, one is said to be practicing Satipatthana respectfully and meticulously. By practicing 4 kinds of Satipatthana, by practicing 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 kinds of Samappadana, 4 kinds of supreme effort, is also automatically practiced. So the 4 kinds of supreme effort is made up of dispelling, abandoning the kind of unwholesomeness similar to the unwholesomeness one had done in the past, not giving chance for unwholesomeness to arise, and also developing the kind of wholesomeness that had not arisen, and to increase, cultivate the wholesomeness, arisen wholesomeness, so that the wholesomeness will become matured, big, developed and cultivated. So these are the 4 kinds of Samappadana. And when practicing, at times Chanda will be, the will be predominant. At times Viriya, effort is predominant. At times the mind is predominant. At times knowledge is predominant. So these are the means of accomplishment. So also there will be faculties, powers of the mind, and there will be factors of enlightenment. There will be noble path. So in this way, by practicing Satipatthana, one is said to be practicing all of the 37 requisites of enlightenment. So all 37 Bodhipakkhiya Dhamma are said to be practiced just by practicing Satipatthana meditation. It is quite complete, but because Buddha was very skillful in putting with words, so what Buddha said was that O Lina Mudita, if the person is practicing with slack effort, if the yogi is having laxity in the effort, and Nikita Sandata, if the person is giving up his or her strong will to practice, and Nikita Durata, as the Satipatthana is essential for everyone, but one gives up the duty of practice rather than practicing continuously in time, just like one has to take medicine continuously in time according to the prescription. So without practicing continuously, one draws back from the practice. So if the person does not believe that there will only be peace when one practices, so instead the person does not practice continuously. So actually practice should be done without any regard to one's own body and life. So one should have the courage to give up his or her health or life or body if needed. So the person must have courage to challenge. Then if the person cannot practice that way, there will be pamada. The opposite of pamada is apamada. When the person is not failing, not negligent to refrain from misconduct by body, speech and mind, and if one is fulfilling morality, it is gross form of apamada. If the person can refrain from mental misconduct, refraining from wanting to kill other people's belongings by force, and also overcoming wrong view such as wholesome deeds does not bring good results, unwholesome deeds does not bring bad results. So overcoming such wrong view and also not letting one's mind go freely on sense objects. So by this way, if one is able to overcome these defilements, there will be medium form of appamada. If the yogi is able to note respectfully, meticulously, if his or her notings are continuous, there will also be refined form of appamada. So if you think of it, you are said to be fulfilling gross, medium and refined form of appamada. So you are having a very big heap of wholesomeness. So in this way, if you reflect what you are doing, you can say that you are sitting on a big heap of wholesomeness. One has to invest this appamada in order to get purity, wholesomeness that is very beneficial. So without appamada, one cannot practice the Buddhist teaching in order to purify one's body, speech and mind. So that's why appamada is essential in every way, every work. So that's why Buddha guided that appamada is essential in every way, in every practice. In order to refrain from misconduct, in order to practice austerity in sensual pleasure, in order to control oneself, not to free oneself in sensual pleasure, in order to practice high-class wholesomeness. So these are the practices of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. So in practicing these, one must have appamada. And in order to become an arahat who is totally free from defilements, one also needs appamada. So in order to practice these trainings of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, till one becomes an arahat, one needs to have appamada. One should not be negligent or fail to perform these trainings. So in order to fulfill these trainings, one should have appamada according to the teaching of the Buddha. Controlling oneself, practicing morality by controlling one's body and speech, controlling one's mind so that one's mind will not be going free in sensual objects. It is appamada. And also, when practicing high-class mental development practice, being mindful of whatever object that arises, respectfully, meticulously, it is also refined form of appamada. So whenever you think of yourself, you must realize how precious your life is to be practicing gross, medium and refined form of appamada. Just as the Buddha said, appamadena sambhadeta, fulfill the training with appamada. So based on it, one should practice Satipatthana meditation to gain knowledge. As much as one practices, one will be developing knowledge. One will be gaining Sankharupeka Jnana, knowledge of equanimity towards formation, and one will attain Anuloma Jnana, knowledge of conformity, and finally the yogi will attain Nibbana, the cessation of Nama Rupa phenomena. So when the yogi gets to the stage of realizing Nibbana with Maggaphala Jnana, then the word or the phrase Appamadena Sampadeta becomes complete. Yogis should be able to replace pamada, negligence and failure, with appamada, so that yogi will be attaining at least Sotapanna, at least the first stage of noble food. So by becoming a Sotapanna, she will be eradicating unwholesomeness concerning with apaya, concerning with lower existences. So by this way, she will be changed from Puthojana, a person who is thick, or a person who has very thick layers of kilesa defilements. So the person will be changed from Puthojana to Ariya, a noble person who is pure and clean. The person, knowing the way to uplift himself, herself, by practicing Satipatthana meditation. So the person uplifted himself by practicing Satipatthana meditation, so that his or her life will be uplifted by practice. So in this way, yogis can compare his or her experience with what the Buddha had taught. In Samyutta Nikaya, Buddha differentiated between Pamada Vihari and Appamada Vihari. Pamada Vihari is the person who stays in negligence, who is negligent to refrain from things that should be refrained, who is negligent and fail to perform things that should be performed. So the person who fails or who is negligent to refrain from things that should be refrained and to perform things that should be performed is called Pamada Vihari. So the other one, Appamada Vihari, is just the opposite. The person who is mindful, who is heedful to refrain things that should be refrained and to perform things that should be performed, is called Appamada Vihari. So you yourself should think which category you are in, whether Pamada Vihari or Appamada Vihari. So how can one be Pamada Vihari? Person who is living in negligence. So rather than controlling one's senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue and body, so that kilesa cannot arise. So if one does not have any restraint in these 6 sense doors, if one is letting their mind go free, if one is letting one's mind go stray on seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching and so on, the kilesa moist will enter the mind, so that the mind will be moist and dense with kilesa defilements. When the mind is wet or moist with kilesa defilements, the mind will not be active, there will not be satisfaction or minor kind of joy. If there is no minor kind of joy, Palava Piti, strong joy, cannot arise also. So the mind will not be in peace. There will not be peace or tranquility in the mind, but there will be suffering in the mind. And the mind will be agitated with raga, dosa, moha, so that the mind will not be calm and the mind will not have samatha, concentration or one-pointedness of mind. So if the person does not have concentration, she will not know distinctly between mind and matter, and thus one will not be developing Vipassana jnana, insight knowledge. So not developing jnana, she is said to be Paṇḍitā Vihari. She is included in the list of negligent, failing person. And Apamada Vihari is the opposite of Paṇḍitā Vihari. So Paṇḍitā Vihari, the person who lives in negligence, whether or not this person will have happiness. So Paṇḍitā Vihari will have happiness, but it is mila sukha. The happiness this negligent person has is impure. It is not clean. The happiness that has raga or lust or the kind of happiness that one invested raga onto, this kind of happiness Paṇḍitā Vihari person will have. So the happiness this person will have will be unclean, because this happiness is invested by raga, and this happiness is not pure and clean. It is the kind of happiness putujana, worldly person, can have. And kama sukha, sensual pleasure, Paṇḍitā Vihari can have the kind of sensual pleasure that is dangerous and fatal. So this negligent person will not have nikama sukha, happiness of renunciation, happiness one can have by staying alone. And pariveka sukha, the kind of happiness of seclusion, will not be obtained by this negligent person. And vipassana sukha, the happiness being free from lust, cannot be obtained by Paṇḍitā Vihari, and she will not have the happiness of discerning the Four Noble Truths. And the kind of happiness Jaraji explained yesterday, the kind of Dhamma pleasure that excels so many times than the worldly pleasure, will not be obtained by this Paṇḍitā Vihari. So what this Paṇḍitā Vihari will be getting is nila sukha, impure and unclean happiness. So that's why Buddha asked Paṇḍitā to be replaced by apamada. So one should be substituting apamada in place of paṇḍitā. So there are 5 things Buddha had taught, and Saraji will conclude this talk with these 5. When others are staying in negligence and failure, when others are being negligent and failing to refrain from things that should be refrained, failing, negligent to perform things that should be performed, but we will not be negligent, we will not fail to refrain and perform, so that kilesa defilements will become from many to less, from thick to thin, from full to less. So it is our responsibility. We make a resolution that it is our responsibility not to be negligent, to refrain from things that should be refrained, and to perform things that should be performed. so that kilesas will become weaker, less thin, and eradicated. So it means that when others are indulging themselves in stealing, killing, stealing, letting their mind go free on sensual objects, not performing dana and sila, failing to perform high-class wholesomeness, but we will not be negligent to observe morality in order to overcome misconduct by body, speech and mind. We will keep our mind away from the sensual objects by practicing bhavana, mental development practice. We will be respectfully, meticulously practicing the bhavana so that we will be dispelling such kind of negligence by practicing sila, samadhi and panya. So one should understand that apamada is very essential. One should remove pamada and one should develop apamada. So what Buddha had taught within 45 vasa, within 45 years of Buddhahood, is all included in the word apamada. So let us all conclude this talk by reciting the resolution, which is divided into 5 parts. When others are having negligence, failure, pamada, but we will be living without negligence and failure. We will practice so as to reduce and eradicate kilesa defilements. We will develop such kind of wholesome mind. We will replace negligence, pamada, by apamada, non-negligence. By practicing without negligence, by practicing without failure, by practicing without forgetfulness, we will uplift ourselves. We will extinguish the negligence method by non-negligence method. Even though apamada is essential in any way, in any kind of work, even when one is releasing one's body weight, you need to do it mindfully. And also in worldly work, especially when one is practicing this practice, one needs apamada. But it is very discouraging that most of the people are turning themselves away from apamada. So this will be the talk for today.